Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are excited today that you've joined with us here live at Co-working Live with Red Worldwide. And we are just really ecstatic because this week is the week that our schedule will change and we'll start having co-working at times where people who can't make it in the mornings are able to make it in the afternoon or evening sessions. And our sessions this week will be Monday through Friday because we are moving to the work day or work week schedule. And so, since we are moving to work week schedule, let me just remind everybody what the schedule is going to be. So, on Mondays and Wednesdays, we'll be live at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. In Eastern, of course, it'll be 10 a.m. on the Tuesday and Thursdays, we will be live in the evenings. And so this is going to be awesome for people who are in a position where they can't make the morning schedule. So we'll be live at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, Pacific Standard Time, which will be 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And so this will make it such that people who are not able to make it to our morning schedule can make it in the evening schedule, and it also makes it easier for our people in Hawaii who would love to attend co-working, but unfortunately they have not been able to because it's very early for them when we're online. And then on Fridays we will have a 12 noon option, which is going to be at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, which makes it 3 p.m. For our Eastern Standard Time people and 2 p.m. for Central Standard Time. And it makes it easier for people who, again, are in places that are more remote and their time zones are not uh, where they could make the early morning schedule. So govern yourselves accordingly. We are excited that we will be able to have these time changes. And one more thing will change. We were doing a Smarter Start boot camp on Saturdays, and we are moving Smarter Start to Mondays. So, that's going to be really, really good for people. We were already doing business structure on Monday anyway. So Smarter Start boot camp being on Monday will really be helpful to a lot of people who are either starting a business, restarting a business, making changes in their existing business, or just didn't feel like they got the proper start when they started. And now they're learning something new. And so we wanted to, start off today because some of you guys have never been to Smarter Start Boot Camp. And so you don't even know what it is or how it works. And so what we do in our Smarter Start Boot Camp is that we have, brought the ease of starting a business into some smaller chunks and helping people to understand what it is that they need to do, from the beginning really has been something that's been amazing. A lot of people don't know what certain things are, how bylaws work, why you should have them, why some banks ask for them and some don't. Some people don't know how to go to the bank and get a business loan or, how to set up, a business credit card. What is a good type of card for a business? What kind of terms work well for a business? Those types of things we talk about in the Smarter Start Bootcamp, because Smarter Start doesn't mean that everyone is starting a business. It just means that we are going over the concepts of starting and, being an entrepreneur, what that would mean to a person and what you need to know about your business in order to have your business structured properly and doing things from that compliance mindset, to make sure that you are always thinking about the things that you want to do to make it so that your business doesn't ever end up out of compliance or at risk because of something that you could have done differently, in the past. So we are very excited about that. And I wanted to talk about the fact that we shared in some previous sessions how every in our Smarter Start Bootcamp, we shared how every state has education available on their Secretary of State website for their businesses. And we're going to show a few of those today because it's very, very important for people to know where they can go to get good information, for their business. And so with that said, we want to prepare, you for, whatever you need to have in your business and show you where you can go if for whatever reason you can't get on co-working or you can't, you don't have us on speed dial, where you can go to get information. So we're going to start with my home state right now, the big old Texas, because I think that this is a good place to start. There are a lot of people that, are in business in Texas, and we are one of those. Our nonprofit hails from there. Actually, we have a couple of nonprofits and a for-profit that hails from Texas that are either that we run or that we sit on the board for, or that we are connected to in some way. And so, because my husband and I have both been serial entrepreneurs, and we have been in a position where, we are, constantly trying to help people who are in business. We've been around a little while, and we've seen a lot of things evolve, with the Texas Secretary of State's website. But one of the main things that we can say is that, with regards to ease of use to get started in business, Texas's website has been one of the easier ones to navigate, because they have always had, educational opportunities on their site for people to learn more about what they need to know about running a business. So let's kind of look at the, business services tab. And this is where we start with most of the websites in the state or in a state. Okay, so we start off with the SOS Direct business searches and formations, business forms, filing options, fees, schedule, copies and certificates. All of these things are really, really important. And of course, my favorite place, the frequently asked questions tab. Okay. But we're going to start with Texas business law, because remember, we talked about that the federal government has given over to every state the ability for them to run their commercial activities in the manner that they choose. And so for that reason, there is a code that is associated with each state for their business. And some of them call it the commercial code, some of it call it organizations code. In Texas, it's called the business organizations code. And there are rules that are associated with how people run a business in every state. Texas Commercial Code, or the Organizations Code, I have a big binder sitting up in my room in there, on a shelf that's like this huge. If you print out all that code, it's a lot, okay, to read. And when I was in one of the business law classes that I took, we went through the Texas Commercial Code, all of it. And so let me just say that it's a lot in there, but there's a lot to understand, about how to do business in each state. And so, we do a kind of a skim the surface when we talk about, the commercial code, because we don't necessarily want to make this a business law class. But what we do want to do is make sure people are aware of where they can find the information that they seek. We believe there are two types of people in the world: those who know and those who know where to find it. So with that said, we can show you that it is organized very well. They go over some of the main things that have been replaced, because often there are, improvements in the laws, or amendments. There are, corrections, all types of things that happen within the code. And so here, this is these are the statutes that have been replaced. And so you want to pay attention to the fact that, although they are in here, they're not hyperlinked. So you will have to go into the code yourself, okay, to actually look at each one of these to see what changes were made. Now, I happen to do this a little differently than most people, because I love to utilize AI for things that AI can do. So there are a couple of really good AI protocols for helping you to get through something like this. You could use Perplexity. And let's, kind of pull up Perplexity so you can see what that looks like. And in using Perplexity, because of the fact that it has a focus mode where you can click on the focus and pull from several different areas that will give you a more factual view of what you're looking for, you can actually click on the academic section. And in that, you can place in there, please provide the recent changes to the organization's code for the state of Texas. And what this will do is it will scan. Okay, it can't read real-time updates or recent changes to the organization codes for the state of Texas as of March 18. Okay, so what it's saying here is that it cannot do what I'm asking it to do based on the focus that I chose. So let's go back and re-choose a focus and see if it can just pull up information from the website. Because if in the academic session, it may be looking for something more specific, like things that are peer-reviewed articles or something like that. So let's see if we can do it this way. Okay. Yes, it can. When I clicked on all, it had more resources that it could use, and it gives you the references that it pulled this information from. So the recent changes to the Texas Business Organizations Code include several key amendments and additions that have been implemented over the past few years. So here's the Business Organization Code Omnibus Amendment Package, and then tells you where it got that information. And I'm going over here, and it pulled this information from a secondary source, which is, it looks like let's see. Yes, an attorney's website. Absolutely. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. And so what they do is they list the changes, and then they tell you where that information is in the code. Okay, good option. Okay, because it's a secondary source that's actually pointing you back to the code. Here's another one: LLC registered series, effective June 1, 2022. This bill allows for the use of protected and registered series by limited liability company. And so here, let's see where they pulled that information from. Again, from the Jackson Walker website on their JW News. It looks like this is their blog. And they are also in this taking you to the actual area in the code in certain places. And other places is just giving you the information. And oh, yes, taking you to the Texas legislature online so you can see where the change has been made. So this is really good because it is actually doing a couple of things that you might need, to pay attention to if you're looking for some specific code. Now, for most people, you're not necessarily looking at, what you need to pay attention to within the your state's code, but for other people, you might be, because it might be something very, very important for your company that you need to pay attention to. So, this is good information for you to know. Now, what I really wanted to share with you, though, is that on the site, there are places where you can get educational materials for the state of Texas. And so here, when you click on that education materials prepared by the corporation section, you can go here and you can look at different presentations that they've made at different times. And you can also look at the bottom, and you can see other information that might be something that is important for you. The SOS Modernization Program, that might be something that you would be interested in. Business filings is another area that you may need to pay attention to, because if you ever need to get information about your company, that you have filed with the Secretary of State, you're going to have to go through the SOS Direct. And so it shows you how to get there in the bottom section, the footer, but it also shows you how to get there from this tab. It's the very first thing you can click. And when you go in here, you can get information about your company. You can actually file documents, you can file amendments, you can um, find information out about whether or not a name is available to be used in your state. So all of that is available here in the SOS Direct. The one thing that you'll have to do is register, with SOS Direct to be able to use their sections in that particular part of the website. So, I have to share with you that you must be registered to do that. But once you register, it gives you access to all of that information inside of the website. You'll have to put in a credit card, even though you may not use a credit card to pay, for anything. You may be able to use all of the free services. They do request that you either put in a credit card or use a Legal Ease account or set up a client account where you load it with preloaded with a certain amount of money. And to search the website for different types of things, it costs $1. So I need to make sure that you understand that, because you cannot search without paying that dollar in the state of Texas. So just saying, it's not like California and some of these other states, but that do not charge you. But yes, it is something that you have to pay attention to. All right. So let's go to Nevada, another state that, a lot of people, are hailing from. So in Nevada, they actually have a really, nice looking website as well. And if we go to the business tab, it's broken down a little differently than it is in Texas. They walk you through every type of thing that you could possibly think to do, on the tab. So here, if you need to get a state business license only, you can click here. If you want to start a business, they actually have a whole section that walks you through what type of business you want to start and, tells you what it is that you need to have, the type of documents that you need to or fill out for that, which is great because, you don't get stuck filling out the wrong thing, and if you're not using a service to do it, sometimes it can be a little challenging, but really it's very simple here on Silver Flume, which is what they call their business portal, to get things set up and to find things. It's really easy. Okay. Start a Nevada business, an LLC or corporation. You can choose the type and just click on it and go to the next section. And the thing is that once you do that, let's just say we're going to choose domestic limited liability company, which is, just an LLC in the United States. Domestic, it means it's in the United States. Okay. Here it tells you what you're going to need. This is your little checklist. The articles of organization, you're going to need to fill those out or upload those, and a common business registration. And then it gives you guidance to know what those things are. So this is really good information for people who are wanting to start a business in the state of Nevada. And they make it very easy, for you to do it right here online and to show you, what it is that you need to do. At some point, when you get to a certain part in this, you'll have to set up an account and log in so that you can move further. But you at least get this much information without having to put in any information. You get an opportunity to understand what is necessary to start the business in Nevada. Let's look at another one. Let's look at New York. Okay. Personally, I'm not necessarily, a fan, which is the reason why I don't live in New York. But I know that there are many people that we have that are have either lived in New York or they are currently in New York, and so we work with them wherever they are, regardless of what we are fans of. And I say that because the New York the Secretary of State, oh gosh, what just happened? Okay, let's go back. Let's get out of here. I'm trying to get rid of the ads. Okay, so that's one of the things that happens on the New York Secretary of State's website is they have ads. And unfortunately, there's not a way to get rid of them. So be aware that this information on the side here is not a part of their ecosystem. This is some other company called Just Answer. I actually went on their website yesterday looking for something. Here's another one, search people. Those are ads. And at the bottom, ads served by Google. Okay, so I don't know of another Secretary of State that actually has ads on their website, but New York. Okay, who knew? All right. Anyway. Okay. So here's their business entity search. You could actually search up information. And if there is a state that gives out way more information than many other states, it is New York. I put in a business name, or I should say a person's name inside of their entity search stream. At some point, we got to a certain part, and when I did that, I was so frustrated because yeah, it was just not what I expected. Okay. So let me go here because I want to make sure. Here we go. Um, okay. We should be here. This is where we should be. And I apologize for that. We were in the wrong place. So there we are. The Department of State, Division of Corporations is where we should be. But in any event, I pulled up the information. I put in the person's name and the address, and I'm telling you, it gave me everything that has ever happened without having to pay anything. And some of the information I thought was just should have been a little bit more private, but it wasn't, So we were able to find out what we needed to find out. But I just thought about, my goodness, if I had a company in New York, I don't know that I'd want all that information available like that for the whole world to see. But again, this is, New York. So, I mean, they do things the way that they do them over there. And we, just uh, abide by it for the people who are living and doing business in New York. But this is their business entity database. And that website that we were on earlier, that was not their Department of State website. That was another website called SECS of states, which is not the Secretary of State. So please forgive me for that. And anything that I have stated about their website, I redact right now. But for the most part, I want you to pay attention to, the fact that is not a whole lot of information available here in the way that it's available, readily available on some of the other websites. So, you have to go to the services tab, and then from there you can actually get to the business tab. And from here, you can see some more of the educational opportunities to find out what you can do, to get a license, and how you can start your business in New York State. And, they go into, how you form the entity, what their certificate of incorporation is required to collect in terms of information. You have to put in your email address and subscribe, in order for you to be able to get information from them on a regular basis. But not-for-profit reports must be filed by January 31, 2024. That's an update. And so that's right here on their on the front-facing section of their business page, so that people can get more information about what needs to happen. And I think it's really important that if you have a business in New York, that you do sign up to get updates, because they make changes, and those changes you're held responsible for. And sometimes you don't have very long of a grace period to take care of some of these things. So, if you are a corporation in New York State, please, 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 take advantage of what they make available to you, so that you don't end up in a situation where you have a penalty. We have one client who has gone through this, and it wasn't easy to take care of some of the things, because the change that was made, she had no idea was made, and neither did many of us, okay, who were working with her as her client services representative. With the type of entity that she had, the changes were made, and she had filed documents and thought that she had closed out a company and found out there was one more thing she needed to do that didn't close her company out. So she was held responsible for the fees for all of the years in between. So I want to make sure that you understand that it's really important, no matter what state you're in, that you get very familiar with the state's website, and understanding, what you can take advantage of so that you can be properly and duly notified if, changes are made in the laws, because you don't always have your own personal business attorney who's keeping up with that. And, although we keep up with a lot of things here at Red, sometimes we find out about things because there's been a problem, not necessarily because, we're looking for that information. Okay, let's go to the state of Washington. We're going to Washington State. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to corporations and charities, the corporations and charities section. And here, let's kind of go back here. I want to just show you that, again, they have on their website, a lot of really good information. And in the footer, they've got some different current information that will let how you can do business with the government in Washington, the employment in the state, and agreements that they have with, other states, that are actually down there in the bottom. But in the section where it says corporations and charities, which is what we're going to look at in a few minutes, I want you to see here that they have, some really good information that's readily available in the tab, just like they do, in the other states that we've been talking about. So they have, where you can, first of all, their search tool is there, trademark, service of process, apostille, where you can download forms, domestic partnerships, contact corporations and charities department, so that you can right away, if you have a question and you just want to call, you can, or you can send an email, or I think they even have a chat feature in Washington. Yep, the chat room is full right now, but they have the chat feature here. We have clients that hail from Washington, and so we have to deal in their website a lot, for different things. And they just make it really simple for you to get to areas. And they also have that wonderful education section, the education and training, which provides resources for people who are starting a business in the state of Washington. Now, in one of our other Smarter Start boot camps, we actually covered a couple of other states. We covered California, we covered Arizona. You might want to check back and look at that one, because we looked at those states to see what they offered in the way of training and education. And we won't have time this morning to go through those, but I promised that we would go through, 3 more. And so we did so today. So you got an opportunity to see, a couple of other options, in terms of what states offer in the way of education and how to get to certain areas regarding what to do with a business in the state. Now, I want to go back to one place that we've been before, but I just really feel that it's necessary that we cover it one more time and show this, because some of our clients went through something this past week when it was time for them to file their business taxes, and they were unable to have the website operate as it needed to, for the filing, and they did not know what to do, and so some of them wanted to file an extension. They didn't know where to go to file the extension, and they really, felt very uncomfortable. They reached out to us. We created a video that helps people understand what to do with regards to these issues. And so we're going to play that video in a minute, but it's only for the state of California that we did that video for the Franchise Tax Board. We're going to be doing other videos because there are other states that have different dates. And we believe that it's really important for you to know what to do if you run into a problem where you're not able to file on time, So so some of this information is relevant to, just any state, but others of the information that we shared are specific only to California because it requires in California that you are, unfortunately, that you have to fill out a specific form, to get um, get that delayed time available to you for a payment. And so here's the thing that you need to understand is that if you cannot pay, you can always request a payment plan in just about every state. And also, if you are someone that's going to owe taxes with the IRS, you can always request a payment plan. And so let me just share with you where to go if you need to get an extension. So here, you can type in extension for business tax. And when you do that, it's going to bring up, okay, a litany of information, right? 326 matching items. Don't feel, like, oh my God, this is way too much. Just take a look here. Dispute prevention and resolution for large business and international taxpayers. That's the very first thing on the list, okay? But right under that, about Form 7004, application for automatic extension of time to file certain business income tax information and other returns. That is where you want to go. And then under that, there's an e-filing form, okay, that will allow you to e-file, if you're in that particular situation where you want to utilize the e-filing process. But here, this is where you would go to not just get the form, okay, but understand the revision to the form. That's really a newer revision, okay, and then understand the taxpayer relief from certain tax-related deadlines due to the coronavirus. Some people who have not filed their taxes and they, for whatever reason, are in a situation where they need to have some relief, they actually can find that information out here, okay? And so, then the other revisions that were made on the previous 7004 forms. What you need to understand about this 7004 form is that you need to make sure you're using the latest form because every time they make a revision, something is changed that you have to either no longer, put on the form or something new is added, so you want to make sure that you're using the latest form. The latest form for now is the December 2018 form, okay? And you're to fill this form out, literally, it's so simple. It's literally just put in your name, the identifying number of your company, okay, the address, city, town, state, and zip code, and then you're going to find the type of form that you would have had to fill out for your taxes. Now, you may not know what form it is because you may not have filed taxes yourself personally before. And so if you're not working with a tax professional and you need to find out this information, the best place to go to find out this information is the IRS website. Remember, I started off by saying that the IRS has lots of educational opportunities on their site, and they always will post, their education sections, in the place where it's necessary. For example, if you are an LLC and you put in here LLC, okay, all right, you're going to be able to find two options at the very top: the single member limited liability company and the LLC filing as a corporation or partnership. If you are a disregarded entity, meaning that you're a small business that is a single member limited liability company, you will be able to click here and understand just about everything you need to know about your interaction with the IRS as an LLC that is a single member. In most states, people who are single member LLCs are disregarded entities, and they will file their business taxes on their personal tax return. Okay. And they will use the Schedule C for most things. Okay. Unless they decided to elect to be an S corporation. And in that case, Let's go back because remember, it gave us another option, LLC filing as a corporation. If you have gotten the LLC election, then you are an LLC filing as a corporation if it was approved. And based on that, now you're going to fill out a different business tax form. Okay. So here, this gives you everything that you need to know about having this particular kind of business with this election. It's all here. And okay, there is information that tells you, if the LLC is a partnership, normal partnership tax rules will apply to the LLC, and it should file a Form 1065 U.S. Return of Partnership form. So that is the form that you could have to file. If the LLC is a corporation, normal corporate tax rules will apply to the LLC, and it should file a Form 1120. So if you're not a partnership, and you're filing as a corporation, an S corporation, okay, then that 1120S is the one that you should be filing, because if you read further down, it says, if a qualifying LLC elected to be an S corporation, it should file a Form 1120S U.S. tax return. So now you can go back to our previous form that we were looking at, Form 7004, and the form that you are supposed to file is the 1120S if you're an S corp, and an 1120 if you're not. Okay, and if you're a REIT, it's an 1120 REIT. There's several different types of entities you could be, but depending on the entity you are, you're going to find that form. If you're a trust, Form 1041 is what you would have filed. And in this little set of boxes right here, you're going to put in the numbers that go along with that form. So I'm just putting in for a trust a 05. If you were an S corp, you would have put in a 25. Okay. And if you were just filling out the Form 1120, you would have put in a 12. But that is literally all you do there. Then you complete this part 2. Part 2 is where a couple of people called me this past week and said, okay, what do I put on the part 2? I'm stuck. Okay. So if you're not a foreign corporation, okay, then you do not have to worry about checking this. But if you are a foreign corporation that does not have an office or place of business in the U.S., but you're doing business in the U.S., that is the reason why you would check this. This does not apply to a lot of people. So there are very few small businesses that are working with us that actually would have to check this form. But we do have one that actually is, set up here, but doing business from outside of here. So they would have checked this particular section. If the organization is a corporation and is the common parent of a group that intends to file a consolidated return, then they would have checked here. Again, that's not with a lot of the corporations that we work with. So, we have very few people that would check in that box. But if you are, then you put a check there. And then if you are a corporation or partnership that qualifies under Regulation Section 1.6081-5, click here. Now, okay, this is where you would want to copy that and paste it. Okay, so you probably want to leave that other tab open, but you can always just put in the information. Okay, my copy and paste didn't work for whatever reason. Let's go back and get it. Let's see here. Okay. But if that is the case where you come upon something and you don't know what it is, and you can't reach your business coach or business advisor or whatever that is, you can always go 2 places. Remember, we talked about Perplexity being a really good place to, find information. Well, you can put in there regulations, and that would be a good thing to do. Make sure you put in regulations section, and it will tell you what that is so that you can know what it is. You could also put that in the IRS's search field, and it will tell you as well. But here it says Regulation Section 1.6081-5 pertains to extensions of time for filing returns of income and paying any tax shown on the return for certain entities. These entities include partnerships, domestic corporations transacting business outside the U.S., foreign corporations with offices in the U.S., domestic corporations earning income from U.S. possessions, U.S. citizens and or residents with tax homes outside of the U.S. and Puerto Rico, and U.S. citizens and residents in military service outside the U.S. and Puerto Rico. Okay. The regulations outline specific criteria and conditions for qualifying for an extension based on different circumstances related to these entities. So in my tax class just a couple of weeks ago, we actually went over the fact that the IRS does give you some latitude if you're not here when filings should occur, or when they send you some sort of information. If you are out of the country at that time and you don't receive it, there are specific kinds of things that they will do to make sure that you are still in compliance. And so you want to be able to take advantage of that. And if you're filling this out, you want to make sure that if that's you, you check that box. Now, very, very important section 5A. The application is for calendar year. You need to make sure you put in that if you are a person that files for the calendar year, you put in that calendar year here. Or tax beginning, let's say you're a new entity and you started in April of last year. You put in the date that you started your company and the ending date of your first tax year. Why is this important? Because this could affect when you're able or having to get this extension. If you filed last year to start your company in August, and we've come around to the time for us to file our tax, which was supposed to be on Friday of this past year, you actually could not have to pay, okay, some of the tax that would be necessary for you to pay for last year based on when your entity was started. And in the state of California, in the video that I did that some of you guys received already, that video shows you that, by filling out the form and putting things in there, you're able to, of course, fill alongside of that another form that gives them the ability to know why you're filing late, so that you will most likely get that abatement from the penalty if you're a few days late in your filing. But in the IRS ecosystem, it's a little bit different. And so we want to make sure that you put in the correct dates in here, because that could make certain things available to you. Remember, this is for an automatic extension of time to file. Okay. Now, this does not mean that this is an automatic extension to pay. So please do understand that it is very important that if you've done some of the math and you realize that you're going to have a total tax of a certain amount, that's, even though it's a tentative total tax because you've just done some basic calculations, but you don't really have all of the information, pay that amount. Okay, do not delay, because it is going to appear as though, you are trying to not pay if you have a tentative total tax of $2,500 here, and you're not going to, you don't have any payments and credits to put there to mitigate that $2,500, and your balance due is going to be $2,500. You need to send a check with this form, okay? This is not an extension of time to pay. That it would have to come from a totally different department, and it has to be requested. This is just an extension of time to file. And if you've paid too much, you could end up getting some of those funds back, okay? So, change in accounting period, consolidated return to be filed, or other initial return, final return. Those are checks that you need to make. Sometimes, you might be closing down your company and this is a final return, and you just need an extension of time to make sure that all of the, amounts are correct. Okay. Sometimes this could be an initial return. You just started the company and, you may not have to pay anything, but you need to make sure that you have everything tabulated properly. So, in this particular case, sending this off is going to help you, not hurt you. Okay. So make sure that you are able to, look at the instructions, okay, and file the form. But I've gone over the basics of the form right now, so you are able to take advantage of at least having that information. On the website, they have a very succinct, section that gives you all of the information with regards to what to file on this form. Okay. So the instructions for Form 7004, the 2018 version is here. It tells you everything that you need to have with regards to that, when to file, how and where to file. All of that is here, so that you can have access to the information to know that you're doing it properly. Beyond what I have shown you, there is just plenty of information. It's, like I said, it's very succinct. It's not, a tremendous amount of information, for most people, but it's going to go through every line to tell you what to put on each line. And it also explains why they need the information, which is very, very good. Okay. There is a set of information that is here that also will provide some additional material. And so, if you have some specific questions because you have a situation that may be different from other people, you might want to pay attention to this section, because there are specific places that people have to file, depending on the kind of entity you have. So this is the last thing you need to know, that if you're filing this and not doing an e-file, you need to be aware of where you need to send the information, that 7004 form. And depending on what type of form you are filling it out for, what type of company you have, whether it's a 1041 for a trust, or, the 1120 S for the S Corp, or an 1120 REIT for the REITs, there may be a reason for you to have to file in a specific place and send that off to that place. So please make sure you don't make those mistakes, because then it delays when they get your information, and that could create another problem, within your filing. So with that said, we're going to sign off for today. I'll share the little video that I wanted to share in the comments section. You can click on that and go and watch it. It's already on YouTube. So you can have access to that for most of those of who are on here that wanted to have that information. And we look forward to seeing you again next time here